Hello, this is Max Thompson, and this is another devlog video for our endgame project called Cadenza. In the last devlog video, I showed off the uh, amp swapping system that I'd implemented and the equipping system. So um, basically, when the player equips an amp and then equips another amp, it would holster the initially equipped amp and then also allow for amp switching and such with a nice little animation to hide the switching animation. Uh, this devlog video is going to be a little bit longer, basically because the main component that I've added now is one of the main aspects, I'd say, for the visual sort of aspect of the game, and that would be the blood splatter system. I've wanted to look into this for a while, into how I would actually implement it within the game, what sort of style I want to go for, if I want to go for over exaggerated, standard, like blood splatters, what would fit best within our sort of actual game and art style. The overall look is still in progress, I'd say. I mean, even before just recording this, I was still making changes to it. But the overall implementation is there, and I'm now really happy with how it turned out. It took me a couple of days to get it all working, and it's all thanks to a tutorial from YouTube on a blood splatter system. The tutorial was quite a long one. It took me about like a day and a half to get through it fully and fully understand it. But yeah, it's a very informative tutorial, as I'd never really done decal work before, which is one of the main aspects of this, decals and the Niagara particle system. So as you can see here, these are the particle spawners, and it looks like quite a lot. But the main thing to keep in mind is these four are purely for show in terms of the particles spawning and not doing anything in terms of the splat. This one here is what actually spawns and then is used to calculate where the blood splatters within the world will spawn. But I think it's better off if I show you. Also, two other things. Firstly, I've ported over the PPM material, post-processing material, that I used in the exploration and interrogation project, because that's the sort of final look we're going to go for the game, and I thought it would be a lot better to test with it in the combat alongside using the particle system, because with my previous work with PPMs, not every sort of texture style works with them. But with how I've got the settings set up on this one, it works basically the same as without a PPM in terms of the looks, but adds a little bit more. But yeah, first of all, I'll show you. Did a little update to the amps, just a visual sort of thing. We now have an aux cord. You can see here it is literally just a cable that attaches from the weapon handle to the currently equipped amp. So you can see here when I equip a new one, it reattaches a new cable to the handle, and you can see when I switch weapons, it switches back. Yeah, it is literally just a case of a cable getting the two socket locations and attaching, and then doing some reattaching and hiding of the visibility during the switches, which were just added on to the blueprint code for the actual amp switching, which looks quite nice. It can still change. I mean, you can see it's a little bit janky with the length, but I feel like this sort of overall style is there enough, so it's not a main distraction, but it adds to the overall visibility of the game. But yeah, this is currently with it on like the stiffness being enabled. I think without it, it just, whenever you were doing any of the attacks, it just looked weird. So yeah, this sort of style works a lot better with the current attacks. You can see it stretches and elongates depending on the movement, because it's linked between the two sockets, which is quite nice. But let's get into the main feature, the blood splatters. So how I've got it is when the enemy has been hit by a player, yeah, it spawns the blood splatter particles from the hit location, and then a blueprint fires, gets the collision location of those particles, and then spawns a decal based on that location and orientation. So you can see here, if I attack this guy, bang, 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 you can see it is pretty gross, I dare say. Yeah, the overall look of the blood I'm quite happy with, like when it's on the wall, so you can see here it's very wet, and also it fades in when it hits the wall, just to allow for it to not suddenly spawn in, and then after a couple of seconds it starts to fade away. Main reason for it fading away is just to save processing resources, because when there's a lot of particle decals active, I can show you here, the performance starts to tank quite severely. There might have been more with when I was playing around with it earlier and had 100 particles spawning. It's now set to like 10, but that can be played around with. But yeah, you can see here, all start to fade away. I can set the fade probably a bit longer now that I've lowered the particle count, but the overall look and feel of it itself is there, and I'm very happy with how it is. This guy's just got a lot more health than the others. Oh, that's another thing I've got to mention. And the hit reactions, I completely forgot about that as well. The enemy dummies, I've added just a simple health system just to allow for testing purposes. So this guy, I've set his health to like 1,000. You can see in the top left through all the debug code, the health itself is also being removed, and also the hit reactions. This is based on location of the hit, the direction, sorry. So if I hit the player from behind, or the enemy, you can see there it says back, and then plays the backward hit reaction. You've got the left side, you've got the right side, and then you've got the forward. It's based off the mesh, so for example, because the mesh is a bit at an angle, if I hit it from, like, say for example, backwards, actually that's not a very good example, there, so you can see there, I technically hit him in the back, but with how the code works, it was technically like a left side hit, so I can play around with the values a bit more. But basically how it works is, you think of it more like a grid, so you see this grid here. I'll use the blade to show it. Actually, no, let me just do it in this bit. So you can see here, this will be where the enemy is. You've got basically north, south, east, and west, and then these are all basically 360 degrees. So you've got 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, and then it divides it into 45 valued intersections, so 45, 45, 45, 45. If the location of the hit falls within a certain range, so you can use that value. So this is, I think it's like minus 135, because it goes 180. So 0 is 180, and then it goes the negative. So this would actually be minus 45. So you got 45 minus 45. If you're hit within that range, that's a forward attack. If you're hit within this sort of range on the cone, that is a right side attack, and so on and so forth. So basically it just takes those values, creates sort of like an area cone for which the enemy can be hit, and then plays the specific hit reaction based on that. So you can see why in some instances, if I hit him from like just outside of the edge of the back value, it will play the left hit. So it looks like you're hitting him from the back, but you're basically hitting him from the left. Just add a bit more life to the enemies instead of them just standing there and bleeding to death, basically. But yeah, the blood itself being added is a huge milestone for me, I'd say, because I've never done anything like this before, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out now. There was a whole day where it just looked really bad. Um, Basically, the tutorial I followed had two ways of implementing how the particles, the decals, sorry, react with the surfaces. Specifically, this is a good example. So, say for example, a particle hit the wall here. The initial implementation, this part here is a very good example. So you can see here how this bit overlaps. The initial implementation would just stop at the bottom of the wall and then wouldn't align with the floor. So it basically just got like a hard cutoff, because that was just using basic calculations. The second implementation uses more of like a procedural based spawning, which causes the overlapping, but it does also cause this issue. So in some instances, when the decal is spawned, depending on the size value of something, I'm still trying to figure out what it exactly is it's causing, but the main fix I found was the overall decal size. If it falls without outside of those bounds, it breaks the decal calculation. And see here, yeah, causes it to basically spawn like a square. The tutorial doesn't really speak about that because the guy doesn't have that issue. So I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is causing it. But in my mind, currently, after spending all of today doing it and the later half of last night doing some testing, I believe it is still with the decal sizing. But yeah, I can actually quickly. Currently, I have it set to just the one decal, but I was playing around with it earlier where it splitches between the two. I haven't actually tested it with both of them playing now with the new updated version for the procedural one. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, the decal sizing, yeah, okay. That's just actually clicked to me now. The reason why the decal sizing was so low before is because the other decal is a fixed size. So if I set this back to the default value, I can actually show you the issue. Because that's what developer logs are all for, is showing problems. So you can see here, bang, square, square, another square. It's basically Minecraft blood. And then you see here, that's the non-procedural one. Yeah, so you see that's the non-procedural one. Very more blood droppy. And then that is the procedural one with the lower decal sizing. So let's just convert it back. It was in the blood system. U. And okay. And we should be back to how we were before. Yeah, there we go. I prefer this one a lot better because it looks a lot more like just blood explosion, which is what I'm sort of trying to go for. But yeah, you can see here, that just looks disgusting. And also the fade out looks a lot better than I thought it would, because I thought it would just literally, the overall opacity would fade. But it fades away from the edges and fades in, which is really good. I don't like it just disappearing. But yeah, I mean, just playing around in this enclosed space just looks so gross. I mean, like, ugh. But yeah, there'll still be some artifacting on this one. That's what I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, like, if I go super mental and set this to 2000, I haven't actually seen how much this does, but I'm pretty sure it's just going to break. Or just look like a big red blob. But we'll see. Okay. Still okay. I'm not seeing any squaring issues. Maybe that actually just fixed it. But yeah, you can see here, it's got a little bit of reflection as well. So that's based on the camera location and the lighting. I think that's actually just fixed it, to be honest. I think just setting the decal size so large, it just causes it not to have an issue. That is another thing as well. For some reason, I think now with the decal sizing, when it can go through walls, so that's another issue. But I mean, you're not going to see that, especially within the level, because by the time that you've done it or you've gotten around to it, it'll have faded away. Um, but yeah, I feel like that actually fixed the issue, so I'll just keep it like 2000. Cool. Um, yeah, I didn't actually expect that to work. But yeah, blood system is basically there. Still need to check with the other guys in the group just to see if they're happy with it. I've been sending them update videos, and they were liking the initial system. Now with this one actually working, I think we're like basically there for that. Um, so yeah, I was planning on doing this a lot later than I did, but I found that tutorial, and I was like, well, I might as well do it now because my other option was doing the enemy AI, and that's just boring to be honest. Really. And I really wanted to enjoy this week, and just do something chaotic. So I thought, let's just make blood explosions and play around with particles and stuff. The particle system itself is very confusing, I will say, as a beginner with particles. Like, it makes sense having to add this sort of stuff, but you wouldn't think about it without knowing it. Like doing quite a few YouTube tutorial watches on like particle basics and such. But yeah, now my main thing is all of these are just for show. I can actually turn some of these off to save even more stuff. So I can actually turn that one off. But this is the one that does the collision, and then you had to do like references to a blueprint and more blueprint stuff, and it's all a component. But yeah, that's another thing I've learnt during the development is components are so useful for referencing. So useful. I'd always been taught to use casts, and I've learnt the hard way, and from watching all the tutorials for the Niagara system, uh, casting eats so much processing, especially if you're doing a lot of casting, and especially if you're doing pure casting. And I've got a few pure casts, so I can probably change that out for components now that I've got it. But I've got an enemy component now, which I can use in the future, purely for referencing. And I've got the blood effect component. So basically anything that I want to be able to be hit to do the blood effect, I just add that to it now. I don't have to do any more code on the other stuff. I just go, yep, bonk, done. And the enemy component, that's for the hit reactions. But I can add more stuff to it, like the AI features would probably be a main option, as well as like combat styling and such, and player referencing the enemy component. Because basically all you have to do is just get a component of class. Like for example, with I was using components before, but very minimally. It was mainly just in for like the combat referencing back to the player. But yeah, now I've seen the light of using components. I'm surprised I hadn't been told about it fully before. I probably did, but yeah, that's another story. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the combat is looking now. There is only a few more components I'd say I'd want to add and play around with before. Also, actually, we just switch the controller. Oh no, it broke. Sorry, I had my controller plugged in, but I thought. Oh, I know why. Yeah, it's because the project crashed earlier, and to have my controller work on my PC for some reason, I have to launch Epic Games through Steam. But yeah, I think that's just how my PC settings are set up. But yeah, the next things I need to do for the combat are finish setting up the base amp to allow for children blueprints to be made from it. I've started to do that by basically setting all the montages that can be played to variables. So you can see here I've got the light attack animations and the heavy attack animations. So basically all I need to do now is just change the animations that are linked to those with the pre-made montages, and then that will just be a brand new sort of combo system. And then once it's at a state where I'm happy, I can put it into the main project and then continue working on it from there. I can do. But then I'll have to figure out the upgrade systems, which will probably be done at a later date. The damage amount, as well as like fixing some of the montages, so you could see there. I think it was like the second light attack one. On some occasions, like that one, it just missed. And that's mainly due to the hit reactions now, but it was also due to the sphere trace radius. I reduced it at first because when the enemy was being hit, the hit location, because the sphere was so large, it was basically spawning the blood like 10 inches away from the face. So it just looked really weird. So I lowered the hit sphere amount, and because of that, with how the hit detection works, not all the animations were connecting, like with the fist. The main one is the left fist. I could do some custom code to change that, but for now it's fine. I'm probably going to get rid of the punching animations for this guy, but we shall see. Like I said previously, I've got some other animation packs I'm going to plan on using, like a lance pack, and then there's like a sword and shield style pack, but I'm going to do it without the sword, the shield even, sorry. And yeah, but the combat currently still needs the sounds, like hit sounds and such. But I'm waiting to implement that because, like also previously mentioned, I'm looking to do a beat-based, update the combo system to be more beat-based in terms of when the player hits. But because we're planning on using Fmod integration for that, I'm going to have to wait until I'm with Kirk again so we can look at how to link the two, because after doing some reading I found that to do the Fmod integration you have to have the Fmod project on the same PC, or basically open at the same time. It's like a sort of GitHub repository, and yeah, you basically have to link it to an existing project, and that's not going to be very good if we're working on the project at the same time on someone else's machine. They do changes and then I have to reset up the system. Basically I've never used Fmod before, so I don't really know how the base system works, so I'll have to look into that first. But I could just fall back on using the timeline method I initially thought could work, with like delaying when the hit plays or slowing down the motion warping. Done a bit more reading up into motion warping, and I'm not too sure you can affect the motion warping cool time. I can show you here actually. So I'm not too sure you can actually change the length of this outside of the montage. You probably can, and I'm just probably being dumb. But yeah, basically, let's actually make this bit. The way that in my head I'd get this working is adjusting either the speed of this, which can be done just by the variable that it's got currently, or the length of it. It's probably actually, I don't really need to change the length of it, probably just the speed. Yeah, a bit dumb. But yeah, using the motion warping with the timeline, and then using the timeline length to adjust the length of the motion warp, which in my head feels like a lot of complicated math, but it probably isn't. And then firing the animation off of that. But how I want it to work is I want the hit to be on the beat, but considering the length probably at which the hit actually takes place, like on this one, the whole range of the hit detection is like this long, but half of it isn't even needed. So by the time it actually hits, it's probably like a millisecond off or so. But we'll see. We'll do some more testing on that. We'll get that implemented, and we'll see how it all looks. But for now, very happy. Very, very happy with how it's looking. This project is taking much greater shape in a much shorter amount of time than I thought it would, because I thought the blood would take bloody forever. Pun not intended. Yeah, I just thought it would be just too complicated to add in alongside all the other stuff. Because there are a few things in this project I've not actually done fully before. Like character upgrading systems, transferring between levels. I've never done that before. I've never actually done multiple enemy types either. But with the time that we've got and getting this aspect done now, just before the end of May, because we've still got June, we've still got July, I'd say at least. I want to get this whole thing done by mid-end of July, so like the third quarter of July, I'd say. I want the game to be able to be published so we can do some more playtesting and such. We are in a very good spot, I'd say. Yeah, as of now, it's basically just blood splatter simulator. Yeah, I can't believe that tiling issue fixed it. That's so funny. Yeah, next up, I'd say, would be AI implementation for the enemies. And also doing some checkup on the FM mod or F mod to see how that works. But that's from Monday, as we have a catch-up session. And then yeah, from there I'll be implementing the character and the enemy bases into the final project. I'll probably take a break from the character stuff from next week, start doing more level stuff, because I don't want to be too focused on the character, put it in the game and realise, oh crap, I've got like half the time I thought I would to do all the level stuff. But the main level stuff is just the transitioning between levels, the spawning, the initial spawning, the like camera switching between the levels. There is a fab pack that I've found I had got ages ago for free for AI spawning, so I'm gonna look into that. And probably use that just for the the enemy spawning, but we'll see how it looks. It looks like a fairly complicated system, but to be honest, if I can get it to work and we're happy with how it looks, it would save so much time as opposed to coding an AI spawning from scratch. But we'll see how it goes. I'm not too sure how much we can use from the Fab Marketplace. But I mean, like all the animations we're using. The main thing is the combat and the models that we're making and the art. So I guess one spawning system is fine. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll check with Corrado and Jackson, the lecturers, and we'll see how that looks. And then also the boss stuff, but that'll be after the base enemy is sorted, because the AI will be coming from that. And then the upgrade system, doing some more visualizing of how that's going to look and what upgrades we can apply, and then figuring out how to code it. It'll probably be very small upgrades. I'm planning on having like one extra ability per weapon that you can unlock when you get to the high level of the upgrade system. So we'll see how those look. They'll probably just be small things, just like the electric does like an AoE electric zap which stuns all the enemies. So that'll probably be a thing. But that'll be after like the base game is ready. In my head, I want to have like the alpha build by the next 2 weeks, which is literally just player can run through a level, kill the enemies, progress to the next level, and go from there. And then after a certain amount of levels, there'll be a boss, which is very doable. It would literally just be adding in the level progression, which in my head is just enter elevator, get random level from list of levels. If the level equals the current one that they're in, don't do that one. Spawn next level, spawn enemies, kill enemies, open the elevator, rinse and repeat. And then after a set amount of levels, boss enemy or boss level. And then yeah, doing collision stuff as well. That's a main other thing. But from what I've seen, it shouldn't be too bad. The main thing I'm worried about is now with these decals, what the performance is going to look like with the destruction as well. But I guess if I do the same sort of thing of fading it out after a set amount of time, it'll be okay. Because I'm not just going to have a million different components loaded at once. Like all the broken tables, all the blood splats. And we'll just see how it goes. It would just be a lot of fine tuning once they're implemented, but getting the base stuff implemented is the main thing. And yeah, that's the basis, the main sort of stuff for this update video. I did say it was going to be long. I still can't believe that fixed the issue, because I'm still not seeing any squares now. Or actually, I'm seeing a very small one there, but I guess that's probably just not really. But like, yeah, the blood is just so funny with how disgusting it looks. And yeah, I guess I probably just need to update the Z sizing for the decal, just so it doesn't phase through walls. And just go from there. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this devlog video, and there'll be more to come soon. Thank you.